Hello. Welcome, everyone.
Hello, hello,
Stephanie,
everyone. Sorry, I was
how are
unmuted.
you?
So
Yeah,
the first thing I do wrong, I'm muted. Hi, everyone. I'm fine. How are you, Shabnam?
doing great. Looking forward to this session. Let's get started.
Yes, me too, so much. We're so happy to have you all here with us today for this fourth and final session in this series on DP-700 from Synapse to Fabric. So, if you want to get certified with the DP-700, you are in the right place. Our plan for this session is we'll go through our presentation for about 45 minutes, and we'll plan to have about 15 to 20 minutes at the end to answer your questions. But you don't have to wait until the end because we have a whole team of expert moderators that can answer your questions in the chat as well. We're going to cover today, why do you want to get certified? Why should you get certified? How to prepare, understanding the exam format and scoring, tips and tricks, and then obviously the Q&A. So before we jump into that, we'll just do quick little intros about ourselves. My name is Stephanie Bruno. I am a data platform MVP, also a Microsoft certified trainer. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active these days. And also datawitches.com. I am, in addition to being an MVP MCT, also a certified data witch. Who certified me? Me. That's who. Okay, so that's me.
Awesome.
I'm so happy to be here with my friend and super expert that I go to for lots of my hard questions, Shabnam Watson.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Shabnam Watson. I'm a data consultant and Microsoft Data Platform MVP in the areas of Microsoft Fabric and Power BI. Super happy to be here today, sharing some tips and tricks for DP-700 with you. You can find me on various social media that's listed on this page, as you can see. I also have a blog and YouTube series about Microsoft Fabric topics. Specifically, I have a blog post that I just published about DP-700 and my experience taking the exam and passing the exam that would be helpful for you to take a look at. I'm going to provide some links to it later in the session. So with that, before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to our wonderful moderators in the chat. We have Kevin Arnold and Dipti Gogori, who are also Microsoft Data Platform MVPs. And if you are watching this live with us on February 5th, 2025, they are available in the chat to answer your questions. Stephanie and I don't see the questions immediately. They will pass the questions to us as needed. Okay, so this is the fourth session and the final of its series that is focused for people who have a background in DP-203 exam, the data engineering exam, the previous version of it, and now they want to go to the DP-700. So hopefully you've taken some of the previous, you've watched some of the previous sessions and are familiar with some of the topics. This last one, we're just going to focus on the exam itself and Q&A. These sessions are all recorded, so you can watch them later on as well. So in addition to that series that today is the final version of, there's another series for getting ready for DP-700 that started from yesterday. So there's a second series that's going on that I highly recommend that you watch if you're planning to take the exam, or in general, if you want to learn about DP-700. Now, one of the biggest conferences that I like to go to is the FabCon conference, or the Microsoft Fabric Community Conference. And it happens in Vegas this year. Again, for the second time. This is a wonderful conference to go to if you want to have an immersive experience and learn everything about Microsoft Fabric. There's going to be introductory sessions, there's going to be advanced sessions, everything from Microsoft Fabric, Power BI, SQL as well, because now we have SQL databases in Microsoft Fabric, and AI. So it's a really good conference to go to if you have the opportunity to go to learn and network and meet friends. That's how I have met Stephanie and several other of the MVPs in person in the previous events. Now, there is a discount code going on that you can get $150 off. If that is not an option for you, but you are a good visualization person in Power BI, then there is a Power BI data visualizations world championship going on. The link for it is here on the page, and I think our moderators are probably already put it in the chat for you. But this is going to be 4 weeks long, and the 4 finalists are going to get passes to go to FabCon, and their hotel plus the conference fee is covered for them. So if you don't have an employer who is paying for you to go, but you're really good with visualizations, this is a fantastic opportunity to go to the conference and also brag for the rest of your life about the trophy, because this sounds great.
Yeah, and if you do, you'll be the first winner of the first world championship. So even bigger bragging rights. So definitely want to make a plug for that. Keep an eye on that link. There's going to be more information coming very, very soon about the actual contest, the rules, and the prize.
Yes. So for the actual DP-700 exam, there is a discount currently going on for 50%. This discount you can get if you go to the link that's on the page. Now, if you're watching this video later on, this exact discount may not be available at a time. So you want to check for other discounts that may be available at the time when you're looking. Typically, there is some kind of promotion going on. So hopefully you will not have to pay full price for the exam. This particular promotion that's going on right now, there are some criteria that you must meet before you can take it. So it's listed again on that page in full details. One thing that I want to mention is that even though it says that it's a limited time offer, meaning that up to a certain point you can you can get the discount code, and then you have a certain amount of time to actually go and schedule the exam using the discount code. But it doesn't mean that you have to take the exam within 30 days. So even if you don't think you're quite ready right now, you can still go ahead and schedule the exam using this code, and then the actual date is going to be sometime in future, maybe a couple of months from now.
Yeah, okay, I'm just going to pause and say, yeah, scheduling the exam, it's the best way to make yourself take it, right? So yes. I think Shabnam's the one who told me that.
Yes, and depending on who you're scheduling the exam with, read the fine prints. The one that I took the exam with, Pearson VUE, had a very generous rescheduling policy where if you rescheduled before 24 hours to the exam, you could reschedule as many times as you wanted. So when I was taking DP-700, I ended up rescheduling my exam quite a few times before I was actually ready to take it. So read the fine print. If they allow you for rescheduling, you even have more flexibility there. So we already said that please say hi to our moderators, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of the Power BI and Microsoft Fabric community members in the chat right now. And so with that, we're going to start talking about preparing for the exam day, and then at the end of it, we're going to open the Q&A. So we're going to talk about why we need to get certified in general, not just for Microsoft Fabric or DP-700, just in general, what's the value of certification? So we're going to have a conversation about that. And then we're going to talk about the resources that you have to prepare for DP-700, talk about the exam scoring and some tips and tricks and resources. And then we're going to open up for Q&A at the end. So talking about certifications, Stephanie, can you tell us why it's important to get certified?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we'll have a conversation about that because just depending on, where you are in your career, there are different reasons for why you might want to get certified. So we'll just kind of, in this section, we're going to discuss a little bit about the specific skills, but really we're going to talk about in general, why is certification great? So let's jump into that. All right, so here are just some examples of reasons people might give for the benefits of being certified. First of all, obviously, you're demonstrating your proficiency in specific skills associated with different roles, right? It can be hard, for example, like if you're like me and you're in an interview and you're put on the spot, it can be hard to answer the question correctly. But at least if you have the certification, you can prove that, okay, I have done this. I do know what I'm doing. Getting hired faster, because employers will often use certification as a criteria. Different employers might say, this certification is required for this role. So this is going to be a great help. And getting recognized for your skills. You can kind of just show everybody that, hey, look, I really do know what I'm doing. And I need some recognition for this, as well as some rewards, right? Certified employees actually earn more than those without certification, for example. It can help you get a promotion, and it's just going to help you have some satisfaction and some confirmation. Again, um, for me, I'm often feeling like, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn. There's so much out there. I'm never going to know it all, which is true, right? We're never going to know it all. But, when I pass one of these exams, I feel like, okay, a lot of really smart people have come up with these questions. And if I can answer them, I must know something, right? So that's another one. And then in addition to that, I kind of feel like it's just a good way to make sure that you're staying up on your skills. Just taking
That,
these exams will let you know that, okay, I'm keeping up to date. Did you have
and
something to add,
that was
Robin?
my main, and that was my main driver to take the exam. It wasn't that I was trying to change jobs. It was because I wanted to get a broad coverage of the Microsoft Fabric platform, and this allowed me to figure out which areas I don't know, and I need to study to fill in the gaps. So that was my motivation for taking the certification.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right. So that's kind of in general, but we even actually have some numbers here to kind of back up what we're saying. So we've got some statistics. For example, 35% of people say that a certification led to salary increase. And who doesn't want more money, right? 26% promotions after getting certified. That's fantastic. 36% say it helped you complete tasks more confidently. Definitely, because again, the product is changing so fast. There are always new features coming in. Um, it's hard to stay on top of everything. So I think being able to do these and take these exams is a big help for that. And then, yeah, it helps you be more influential during your deployment. Again, it gives you that confidence and it gives you that credibility to back up what you're doing. So these are just a number of reasons, that you might want to consider getting certified. And so now that we know, in general, this is just any type of certification out there, what we might want to get. Let's just get a little bit more specific about this exam. So first of all, we know why it's great to get a certification for your career, but let's talk specifically about data, because we all know we're living in it. Data is exploding, but skills are lagging. A lot of people have a hard time, finding the right people for the job. So once you have all of those skills and you are able to show it, then you're going to be much more appealing to employers, future customers, etc. Data roles do pay well. That's partly why we're here, right? So it's really nice to know that these skills are valuable and it's central to the success of the businesses, whatever we're doing, whether we're doing nonprofit or we're doing banking, all of these skills matter in absolutely every industry. So specifically to data, that's what we're here for today. And even more specific, let's focus even more. Let's talk about Fabric specifically. So we just talked about data in general, but let's talk about Fabric. So a lot of you here might be coming from the Synapse world, and you're seeing that there's a lot of investment in Fabric. There's a lot of talk about Fabric. So you want to transition those skills to Fabric. So exactly what is it? Just in case you don't have that Fabric background yet, just really quickly, we're going to do the one-page slide on exactly what is Fabric. So Fabric is the end-to-end analytics platform, bringing together the data preparation, the warehousing, the engineering, the data science, real-time analytics, and of course, my favorite, Power BI, all into one unified foundation, one copy of the data stored in one lake. So all of these skills that you have from your Synapse experience are going to translate really well to the work that you're going to be doing in Fabric. So with that overview of Fabric, what exactly is this exam going to cover? So for this exam, this is an intermediate level. Maybe you've taken the DP-600, maybe you've taken the Power BI exam, This one is focused mostly for the role of a data engineer. So if you're a candidate for this exam, you need to have subject matter expertise with the data loading patterns, architectures, and orchestration processes. So your role might include ingesting and transforming data, securing and managing an analytic solution, and then monitoring and optimizing. So these are the areas of specific focus for this exam. You will work in your role as a data engineer, you work closely with analytics engineers. So those people that may have taken the DP-600, that may be you as well, right? You might be playing both of these roles. You work closely with architects, analysts, administrators, to design and deploy your solutions. So this last one here, this mention about the languages that you're going to need for this exam, you should definitely have comfort with SQL, PySpark, and KQL. From what I hear, you don't have to be an expert in all three, but you really need to be solid. You need to feel really solid and comfortable in at least two of the three. But you're going to want to spend some time making sure that you have enough understanding of all three, because these are really all important languages for this certification. Shabnam, did you have anything to add to that? Or, oops, perhaps I lost Shabnam for a minute. Okay. So when she comes back, she can definitely add on to, the skills that she feels like are important to study and prepare for this exam. So how do we prepare? Now we kind of have a rough idea of what's on the exam. So how would we prepare for this exam? All right, so first of all, go to Microsoft Learn. Microsoft Learn is a great place to have the Learn modules, as well as details of what types of content you can expect to see on the exam. So within the Learn modules, there's a whole path that I think we're going to probably have in the chat. I think there are probably some links being put up in the chat here for the Learn modules, but there's a whole path. It is going to give you a good amount of the information that you can expect to see on the exam. But be aware that it's not going to cover absolutely everything. So if you look in the study guide, which we'll talk about in a minute, and you notice, there might be some things in the study guide that I don't see in the Learn modules, it's important to take it upon yourself to go and dig around and find the details that you need to fill in your knowledge gaps elsewhere and Learn. Because I want to repeat that just getting through all of the Learn modules isn't going to be enough to fully prepare you for the exam. And I think we have Shabnam back.
Yes, I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah. So speaking of the Learn modules, so they are the bare minimum that you need to know before you go to take the exam. So you must make sure that you understand everything that's in the official course for DP-700. But then, as Stephanie said, there are areas where they are not 100% covered in those Learn modules. They just give you a head start. And then you may have to go check out other Learn modules that are not part of the official collection. Or at some points, you have to reach out to other blog posts from the community that are outside of Microsoft Learn just to study the material in more in depth. So I think, let's see if are we sharing my screen, or are we still having you? There we go. Okay, so we talked about the modules, and there's also the official course collection. But in addition to that, there's the community resources, there's a study guide. So the study guide is super important because it has all the links that you need for the rest of the resources. So it takes you to the official course collection. It takes you to a test exam when it becomes available. Right now, the practice test is not out there, but when it becomes available, you can get to it. And then, as Stephanie mentioned, there are quite a number of blog posts out there or videos that have tips and tricks for the exam. So for example, I use Kevin Chan's blog post for the CI/CD because I didn't have enough hands-on experience with it from my work and through the Microsoft Learn modules, I didn't feel like I had everything I needed. So I went to Kevin's blog post and I watched one of his videos to pick up on that material. And I have also myself put together something that I wanted to share with you. I think our moderators may have put the link for that in the chat. So let me bring that into here so we can take a look. So, and also it's a good time to show the study guide, by the way, as well. So give me just one moment and I'll bring
You read
that
my mind.
down.
I was just going to ask you if you would please show us what's on the study guide. And then, yeah, Shabnam showed me what she developed. I'm so excited for her to share it with you.
Yes. So, so here's the study guide. And by the way, if you want to find this, all you have to do is to go to Microsoft Learn to the main website, and then search for it. And then it will take you to this study guide. And the reason the study guide is important because it gives you this exact skills that are going to be measured in the exam. So there are 3 main categories, as you saw previously on the slides. And then for each category, you have a breakdown. So if you want to spend time on 2 of these categories, spend more time, this gives you some idea. So they are evenly spread. And remember that you need to have a 700 out of 1,000 score to pass the exam. And none of us have time to get everything 100% right or study like 100%. So this helps you build a strategy of which areas you want to invest in. And the exam has KQL, PySpark, and SQL. So if you're really strong in 2 of those, you can probably get away with not knowing the other one fully in depth. But there is a good amount of questions in all of these languages. And then, so this further down, there's a breakdown of each category, even into more details. There's 48 of these skills. And then at the bottom, there is links to the official, extra official material. And this will take you to the collection, to the course. And here's the course. So the course has 5 learning paths in it. 5, yes. And the good thing is that what I noticed is that the learning path, by the way, have some common modules between them. So as you complete the first and the second learning path, you also have completed some of the ones that are below. So even though it says it's going to take, 3 hours here, 10 hours here, that's not how long it's going to take you because they repeat. Okay. So that's helpful. That was helpful for me so that I didn't have to. I was worried at first because I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to take me a long time because I added all the expected times. So while we are in Microsoft Learn, I just want to mention also that because the exam is open book, you are going to have access to Microsoft Learn during the exam. And what you can do with that is that basically you're going to have this during your exam to the side. And I think we have a slide where we're going to show this in detail. But what you want to do is that you want to learn before the actual exam day how to navigate Microsoft Learn. Because if I just go in here and type PySpark, it may not take me to where I want to be. It may not take me to the Microsoft Fabric documentation. Sometimes it may take you to Azure Synapse Analytics documentation, and it may not be exactly what you're looking for. So I recommend that you practice learning how to navigate Microsoft Learn before you get to it. And one of my favorite functions to search for is this argmax that will take me to the KQL syntax page. So this is my shortcut that during the exam, I know I will search this function and I know that's going to take me to the KQL syntax that I need. And then this actually helped me with 1 or 2 of the questions that I wasn't sure of. All right, so having said that, what I did was when I was going through the study guide, just to keep track of what I was doing and how much progress I was making, I ended up pulling this into an Excel file first, which I'm going to show you. So I put everything in here, and then of course I color coded it as I was completing. So as I went through the collection, the course official learn modules, I would come back here and mark the skill as 1 for when it was completed. And then sometimes the modules may not give you one of the skills 100%. So in those cases, I was giving it a partial score. And then, of course, I'm a Power BI enthusiast, so I had to take this to Power BI after this one. So I ended up pulling this into a Power BI report so I could see the summary instead of the individual rows. And then, so I ended up creating this Power BI report that helped me. So as I was going through this, I would enter my progress in my Excel file and then make an update. And then this would show me what I needed to study. Now,
I love
you
this
may,
so much, Shabnam. And she just showed me this also. And my first question was, can I get her to give this to me? Because I really want
yes.
this. And then
So,
she said, oh, and I've already put it out. So we're all in luck. We all get to benefit from Shabnam's work.
oh, thank you. So this is in my GitHub repository along with the Excel file and a couple other resources that there's a link. Hopefully there should be a link to it in the chat right now to my blog post that takes you to the GitHub repository. And so this one, for example, one thing you can see is that at the end of my study, I was at 39 skills out of 48. So I did not feel like the remaining 9 I had studied enough for them, or the material was not exactly mapping 100% for me. So that's where I stopped because I didn't want to spend any more studying. So that your goal should be to aim for somewhere between 80 to 90 to leave some room for error. Otherwise, it's going to take forever, and then you're never going to take the exam. If you aim for perfection, you may never do it. So don't aim for perfection. Try to aim a little bit lower. So for me, some of the areas that I was not able to get 100% match were around the identifying and resolving errors of various kinds or optimizing query performance. So those were the things that I had to rely on my previous knowledge or just some outside content for.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing it with us, Shabnam. I can't wait to use it.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope it helps somebody. It helps motivate some of you to take the exam as you see the numbers go up. It will help you to track and take the exam. All right, so let's go back to the slides. I think we have 2 more topics to talk about. So even though the DP-700 right now does not have a practice test, it will have in future. It'll be, the link for it is going to be in the study guide. But for now, you can take the practice test for DP-203, the previous exam. So even though that one is focused on the platform as a service, not software as a service version of these products, it will still be beneficial. So for example, anything that you have for KQL in the previous version, in the DP-203, is also going to be useful in here for Microsoft Fabric. And then the questions that you have in the platform as a service version for Azure Data Factory with the pipelines are also going to be useful here in Microsoft Fabric. So take the test. Don't worry about the questions that are specifically asking for configuring the services or networking or those kind of questions. Just go through them real quick and look at the KQL and pipeline questions. So you will have similar questions in DP-700, and it also gives you a feel for the difficulty of the exam. So I think we talked about the Microsoft Learn to be familiar, to make sure you can jump to it and navigate, because as you're going through Microsoft Learn, the timer doesn't stop. It just keeps on going. So you don't want to spend too much time in Microsoft Learn either. You should plan to use it for maybe 5 questions, 10 questions max. Beyond that, you need to know the material in advance.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, Shabnam. When I've used it in the past, it kind of got me. I didn't realize that you know, I don't have Google or Bing here to bring me to exactly the right page and learn.
Yes.
So my lesson learned was I got to learn how to navigate this without the search to
Yes.
be able to not waste time.
And you can, so my strategy, since I took DP-600, I learned this from DP-600 because at the time, if you minimize and maximize the Microsoft Learn that you see, it's a black section to the right of the screen. The exam environment was crashing during DP-600, which was quite stressful. I think, Stephanie, you experienced some of that before
Yes,
too. Yeah.
definitely.
So this time I took the exam with an external monitor. So you can have your laptop, for example, and an external monitor. You have to configure your laptop so that you can close the laptop's lid, and then you have a keyboard, outside keyboard, to use your bigger monitor. If you have a bigger monitor to use either with the laptop closed or just if you have a PC, that's useful because you have more room on the screen. And then you can leave Microsoft Learn open to the side, and you can have multiple tabs open, ready to go. So that will save you some time there as well. And then I think we were also supposed to mention that Control F does not work,
I
right,
learned that the hard
Stephanie?
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
because some of those learn pages are really long. And if you're looking for
Yes.
a keyword, yeah, just that's definitely a hot tip. You cannot use Control F in there.
So it's not a full browser experience. That's why we say don't 100% depend on Microsoft Learn being available. It's good for a quick syntax check here and there, or maybe like a property check. Beyond that, you got to study.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I think we looked at the study guide already. So we're going to now talk about the exam format and the scoring. So Stephanie, can you help us understand the exam format and the scoring?
Yeah, let me go back. Okay, so we're going to talk about what we can expect. We talked about it a little bit. You know, Shabnam touched on this magical 700, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so most exams have between 40 and 60 questions, but it varies between exams. Microsoft is constantly updating and maintaining the exams. So, you know, you can't always count on everything being exactly the same. Some questions are worth more than 1 point too. So don't try to, you know, don't waste time doing that math in your head while you're taking the exam. Just try to do your best. But a very important one is keep in mind that there's no penalty for guessing. So you get points for correct questions. You don't get, you know, negative there's no penalty for guessing. So make sure you answer everything. Your goal is to get every question answered. If you are not sure about an answer, you can mark most questions for review and then return to them before leaving the section or exam. So by section, I mean that there are going to be some multiple choice. There's going to be a whole group of questions that could be, the format could be multiple choice. It could be building a list. It could be kind of fill in the blank kind of things. But then there's also this case studies section. I'm not sure how many you can expect or if it varies between people that are taking it or even when it is. The case studies could come in the beginning, they could come at the end. Those are the different sections. So once you, for example, complete the case study section, then you can't go back to that one. Another tip that Shabnam reminded me of is if you need a bathroom break, they'll let you take a bathroom break, but you can't go back to the questions that you have taken after you come back from your break, which, you know, makes sense. They kind of want to take into account the possibility that you might panic and ask somebody a question, you know. So once you do that, you can't go back to those questions either. So you can mark things for review, but there are just these couple times that once that is done, you can't go back. Okay, and how much time should you plan for? Plan for 180 minutes for specialty and role-based, 150 minutes to answer each question, and then maybe 30 minutes for instructions. So, you know, it's going to take some time. So definitely give yourself some time beforehand to, you know, breathe and do whatever you need to do to relax, as well as the time that it's going to take for the exam. So the passing score is 700. So that's what we want to get to. And you don't have to share your final score with anybody. 700, and you're gonna get the certification. So just like Shabnam said, you don't have to be super expert in 100% of the topics covered. So just try to use that for your strategy for how you're going to prepare for it. Okay, so practical stuff. How do you do it? It's a computer-based exam, so you can go to a testing center or you can do it remotely. If you do it remotely, you have to do a lot of setup. You have to send in pictures of the room you're doing it. They just want to make sure that you are in a quiet space where there's no chance that you're going to have information passed to you or anything like that. So you have to prepare for making sure that your setup is exactly following the instructions, or they won't let you take it that day.
As a side benefit, you will clean your office or your room very well.
Yes, that is true.
You need
You can't have
motivation
anything
to
on your desk.
organize, and yes.
Right, that's an excellent way. Or if you don't want to deal with any of that, and you're lucky enough to be in a location that has a testing center, that's an easy way to do it too, because you don't have to do any setup.
And
All right,
so one thing I want to mention that got me this time was that when I took DP-600, I had taken the hardware check that Pearson VUE offers ahead of time several times. This time I was confident because it was the same computer that I was using. Everything was the same, but it had been several months. So I don't know what, but something had gone wrong. So when I went to run the hardware test about 2 hours before the exam, there was one issue with my network that I could not figure out. So that last minute I had to switch to a different computer. So I highly recommend that you take the hardware test at least a day before, and don't rely on your previous experience for that, to make sure there's not an issue on the day of if you're taking it remote, so that they let you in.
I absolutely agree with that. I had the same experience. I had some issue with my camera where it was going off, and the proctor kept saying, "I need to see you. I need to see you." That was stressful. Another note, you can't read aloud. I got busted on that.
Yes.
I was stressed out. I'm reading the questions out loud. So they told me I had to be quiet. So yeah, I mean,
That's
they
hard
take it
for me too,
seriously.
because that's how I read questions to myself, and this time I had to make sure that I was just reading them in my mind. But
Yeah.
definitely that can get you.
Yeah, but they'll tell you, if you forget and you're doing it, they'll just kind of nudge
Yes.
you. So don't stress out about it too much, but do the hardware check in advance. Make sure you follow all the instructions if you're doing it remotely. All right, so next slide, how are they scored? As we mentioned, 700, but that is not 70%. So again, don't just, try to figure it out in your head. Just do your very best and answer all the questions. So each exam has this cut score. So there's 1,000 points in total, and passing is always 700. And just remember, nothing's deducted for wrong answers. Answer every question. If you're not totally sure, you can mark it for review and come back to it. I've noticed that when I do that, I end up marking every question for review, and then it completely defeats the purpose for me. So I have to be a little bit more judicious with which ones I mark for review, for example. So yeah, go with your gut, and just do your very best. Answer every question. All right, so what can you expect on exam day? So we talked a little bit about, doing the hardware check and everything, but this is how it will go. If you're taking it virtually, especially. Again, you can go to a testing center, and then you're not necessarily going to have to deal with all of these little boxes, but you'll come in, proctor will verify your identity and unlock the exam. I think in the past, with the DP-600, sometimes we had to wait in a waiting room for a long time. Shabnam, you said your experience this time was much smoother. You didn't have to do that.
It was much faster. Yes. With DP-600, I ended up waiting about 45 minutes before I was let in, and that was challenging, because at that point you've put away your cell phone, everything, your desk is clean. There's nothing but you and the computer and the camera. So you have to account for that amount of time, just in case you have to be somewhere afterwards, to make sure you add some padding to your test time. But this time I was let in actually ahead of time. So 30 minutes before your exam, you can log in and start the check-in process. And sometimes they let you in even before, which was this time for me.
Yeah, that's nice. So again, definitely give yourself enough time just because you don't know if you're going to have to wait for a little while or if you're going to get right in. So give yourself a little
Yes.
time to make sure that if you have to wait in the lobby and then all of these other little things. So, just make sure that your name is correct on the title screen. You want credit for the exam you're taking, right? You'll have to agree to the NDA and then make sure to follow the instructions. Just remember that sometimes you can't always go back to every question after certain things have been completed, things like that. Sorry, I jumped right past taking the exam because I think we already covered that in detail. So then you will get your result right away at once you're finished. I've skipped a few boxes here, but the teams making these exams would like to hear your feedback. So if you do have comments or feedback on any items, specific questions, or in general, again, they're always trying to improve it and make the experience better and make the questions as relevant as possible. So if you do have feedback, it will get read. So definitely provide comments if you feel like you have anything you'd like to share. And then again, you get to get your results. Shabnam had a hot tip on receiving your results, which is once you get to this point, it's okay to take a screenshot. And so just do that for some peace of mind, maybe, to validate that, okay, I did take it. After you're going through all of these sessions, you're going to pass the test, right? So then you're going to celebrate, but just take that screenshot or a picture of it or something, just so you have that that kind of ease to know that you've got that documented that you passed the exam, because it's stressful, it's hard. So you definitely want to make sure that you get the credit once it's done. Shabna, did you have any other tips to add to that?
You forgot the celebration step.
Right, for sure.
Celebrate, yes. So I think you covered everything. If they let you at it depends if you're taking the exam in person or remote, but if you have the opportunity to take a picture, this is again at the very end where the exam has stopped. If you can take a screenshot, then do that. It's good, always good to have that as well. Okay, so let's talk about some tips and tricks, kind of recap. The way you want to prepare is to start with the study guide. So let the study guide be your roadmap, and then take the learn path and the learn modules, and then go through all of them and keep track of your progress. And then go ahead and schedule the exam. Let that be a motivation for you. Schedule, even some people schedule study time for themselves. They set up meetings to remind themselves to study, and then take a practice test. And remember that DP-700 is not an easy exam. It's not an impossible or difficult exam either, but you must study for it. Don't look at the Microsoft Learn assessments that you have at the end of the Learn modules and think that that's going to be the kind of question you're going to get. Those are the equivalent of the easy category of the questions in the exam. So you're going to get much more in-depth and advanced questions. So definitely study for it. So let's, at this point, let's go ahead and open up for Q&A and see what questions we have. Let me go back.
I think I saw one, which was, are there any common pitfalls or mistakes to avoid during the exam? I'm going to say for me, counting on that Control F in Microsoft Learn and relying on that too much, it's easy to kind of get lost in your searching and then spend more time than you plan on. So for me, it would be spending too much time on Learn.
Yeah, for me, it would be not to resize that Microsoft Learn window, because from last time, I still have a bad experience. So I do not want to move that bar, the middle bar, back and forth or minimize that. I would say don't do that. just leave it to the side and have your links ready to go and practice navigating ahead of time to your content. So there's a question that says, do we get results as soon as the exam is finished? You do get the results now that the exam is general availability. It went generally available on January 15th. So if you took it before, you may still have to wait a little bit more. But now if you take it as of today or January 15th, you will see the results immediately at the end of the exam. And the pass mark is 700 out of 1,000.
But it's not exactly 70%. So we don't really know how much everything is worth.
That's true. That's true. So you from what, Stephanie, I think what you mean is like if you get like let's say you get 100 questions, it doesn't mean that you need to get exactly 70 questions right, because some of the questions may have more points to them, right? Like the case study, I think, is worth quite a few points.
Right, exactly. So it's hard for us to know in advance, you know,
Yes.
just because we got X number right, what's that going to translate to? And then I
Yes.
saw there was another question that was, what is the difference between the DP-600 and the DP-700? So the 600 is more focused on the analytics, and the 700 is more focused on the engineering, if I had to put it into one word for each. Is that
That's right. Yeah,
what you're
that's
thinking,
right. So
Shabnam?
600 is a broad exam over all components of Microsoft Fabric at a high level. With the special, there's a lot of Power Query questions in DP-600. There are Power BI questions. There are DAX questions. With DP-700, there's no DAX. There's no Power Query. So DP-600, if you're coming from a Power BI background and you're really good with DAX and Power Query, then you can count on being able to handle a lot of the questions on DP-600. But if that was your that was the part of your skills that was giving you a boost to pass DP-600, and you weren't strong with the pipelines, for example, or KQL, you're going to have more work to do on this side. So the DP-700 is it's going to be easier for people coming from a data engineering background where they know PySpark, they're comfortable with Azure Data Factory pipelines. So they're going to find it easier. And of course, KQL, I would like to mention that KQL was completely new to me up until a couple of months ago, but I really like it. It is one of the most powerful and easiest to learn languages that I've ever learned. It's super easy. It's super easy to go to Microsoft Learn, look up a syntax and apply it to what you're doing. Whereas with some other languages, for example, DAX, you can copy and paste and expect things to work. We all know that. But with KQL, it's very simple and elegant and powerful. So it's a good opportunity to learn KQL as part of getting ready for DP-700.
And it sounds like that's one where you can put in a little investment and, it's really going to pay off for this exam, for
Yes.
example.
Yes. So the KQL, if you don't know, let's say you don't know the three languages that you need to know, SQL, PySpark, and KQL. If you need to learn 2 out of 3, KQL is an easier one to learn from scratch.
That is a good tip. Thank you, Shabnam.
Yes.
I see another one. If we complete the learning path, will we be able to pass the exam? If that is all you've done, it's probably not likely. The learning path, Shabnam said, it's a good head start, but it's not going to be everything you need. So that's why you're here today, right? So that you can find all the other resources that are going to be helpful for you.
Yeah. So if you've already studied Microsoft Fabric before, you're using it for work, and as you go through the Learn modules, you feel like you find it very easy, then yes. But if you're just starting, going through the Learn modules may not give you 100% ready to pass the exam.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Shabnam, on your questions that, the knowledge check at the end of each module, those are
Yes.
pretty simple questions compared
They
to,
might give false hope at times because you think,
yes.
oh, this is super easy, I can do this. But the actual exam questions are hard. They require you to focus. They require you to be able to think through real life questions. So there are real challenges that are presented in the exam to evaluate your skills.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Do we have the practice exam? Not yet, but it is
Not
coming
yet.
soon. Shabnam,
Yeah.
like she said, you could use the 203 for now.
Use a 203 for now. It will give you some feel for the KQL questions and the pipeline questions, some of them. And also, if you've never taken a Microsoft exam before, there is a sandbox environment that's available for you that will just take you through the some fake questions, but it will show you the type of questions like drag and drop. You have to, different categories, so you at least know what to expect. So definitely do the sandbox experience.
Yeah, that's great. Did we have a question about the case studies?
Yeah, I think for me, for DP-700, I only had one case study. But
Okay.
again, I don't know if that's random or if that's for everyone. But I had one case study that had several questions with it. And as Stephanie said, once you exit the case study, those questions are locked in place.
Right, exactly. So if you, for example, I think you can get the case studies either in the beginning or at the end. So if you get it in the beginning, you'll complete the case study and then that's it. You won't be able to go back to that. And then you'll do all of the however many of the other type of questions. As you go through those, you can mark them for review and come back. Or it could be
Yes.
the other way. Maybe you get all those first and then you get the case study at the end.
Yes. So I had also I had a different kind of question that was a group of questions together. It wasn't necessarily a case study where they explain to you a scenario and then you have to think of you're their data engineer, you're the data architect of this fictitious company, and now you have to design something. And so a case study is a real life scenario, similar to a real life scenario. But there was another question or type of questions that were grouped together, two or three maybe, that they are bunched together. So those also, once you go out of them, you cannot come back, but they give you plenty of warnings about it. So it's very obvious that you cannot miss it, that if you're done, you have locked your questions in place. Okay, so let's see. I think we talked about the difference between DP-600 and 700 already. I'm scrolling down. Stefan, do you see any more?
I don't see any that we have not
Okay,
hit yet.
so let's go back to the slides and let's talk about one more time just to make sure everybody got it. There is currently a 50% discount for DP-700 available. This is a limited time offer, so you must claim the discount code by March 31st. It doesn't mean that you have to take the exam by March 31st. So even if you don't think you're 100% ready right now, you can go ahead and get the discount code, and then you can schedule your exam for later. So you just go to that link, and hopefully you will qualify for the criteria, and you can take advantage of this discount code. And then another reminder for FabCon, one of the biggest data conferences of the year. FabCon is coming up in Vegas at the end of March, beginning of April. You'll have sessions from beginner to advanced on many, many different topics around Microsoft Fabric, but also Power BI and AI and SQL. And if you're one of the Power BI enthusiasts, then you are really good with visualizations. Remember that we mentioned there is a competition going on, a championship is going on that you can compete and brag about it. And hopefully you also get you'll get to go to the conference for free. So if you're not covered by work, by your employer, this is a great opportunity that you can get your hotel covered and you can get the conference fee waived for you.
Well, and you get to show off your
That is,
visualization skills.
yes,
of
that
course.
is worth more, in my opinion, than the other two.
And I also wanted to do one other plug for FabCon, which is that one of my favorite things about it is, meeting new people and getting my questions answered. There's always an Ask the
Yes.
Experts section. So if you have some challenge, you can literally bring your computer up to the Ask the Experts booth and have people from the product team, other experts, help you get those questions answered.
Yeah, absolutely. That Ask the Experts has been one of my favorite areas of these conferences, and the community zone also, because those are the places where you get to meet other people that are in the same field as you. They talk data, they understand the same challenges that you may face at work. And it's always very enlightening to hear what other people are doing from different organizations about potentially problem that you're trying to solve at your work. It's always amazing to me that someone else also has the same issue and learn how they have solved that problem. So I highly recommend that you attend the FabCon conference if you can make it. All right, so this session was the last of a 4-part series, and there is another series that started from yesterday that I think the link for that was also in the chat for everybody to take a look. So definitely try that series. Sometimes depending on your learning style, some people learn by reading the text and the learn modules, and some people learn by listening to someone else or watching demonstrations. So it's the same content but presented to you differently. So depending on your learning style, you may want to focus on one versus the other. It's a great opportunity to see some of that work in action. All right, so if there are any questions, we can talk about them right now. So let's see. Will the jump from someone who's passed DP-203 to DP-700 be difficult? My personal opinion is no, it will not be difficult. I actually think that if you have passed DP-203 going to DP-700, you're going to have an easier time versus people who have passed DP-600 to 700, because DP-600, you would have had to have a really good knowledge of Power BI, Power Query, and DAX. Whereas if you passed DP-203, you didn't have any of those. So you would have had relied on KQL and pipelines. So I think you're going to have an easier time. But that's, again, my personal experience and perspective. Stephanie, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, Shabnam's one of the smartest people I know. So, if she says, no, it'll be fine, I would still go ahead and study all the materials and the resources for 700, even if I had passed 203. So I'm just going to take that.
Okay, so let's clarify. I think the question was, is it going to be I compared it to DP-600. I didn't say it was easy. It's not easy. You must study. Don't take that the wrong way. There's definitely, so because you're coming from platform as a service to software as a service, so there are definitely some changes you still need to study.
Yeah, definitely. And then, so we have this question slide up. If you don't get your question answered here today, notice this second link on the slide. We can continue the conversation. So if you end up having more questions later, this is a great place to also put them. And
Yes,
then
absolutely.
really quickly, we did have one more pop in, which was, as a data analyst, is it better to do the 600 or the 700? And just like Shabnam was just saying, if you're a data analyst and you have experience with Power Query, DAX, Power BI, 600 is probably a better fit.
Definitely
700 is
start
more
with
that
600.
engineering.
Yes. And then go to 700 is the more advanced one. So I think we're right on time. So I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us. It was fantastic to have everyone. Thank you to our moderators and also our production crew. Matt Clemens does an outstanding job. He's behind the scenes. You don't see him, but thank you, Matt, and everybody. And I think that's it for us. Have a great day.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.